terms of us having an economic awareness exercise. I did this very sad mom, and I put the video on my Instagram. My Instagram is Dr. Boyce Finance. I have a backup Instagram at Dr. Boyce Money. So maybe if you want to follow both, you can. I've had several hundred, almost a million Instagram followers that would just delete it from me because they just, I don't know, sometimes they just do that. And so as a result, what we do is we have many platforms. We have literally probably about 3 million people on different Facebook pages and over 1.5 million on different YouTube channels and stuff like that. Because with social media, in case you ever decide to go into business and start using social media, which everybody should, you should just know that if you speak a lot of black stuff, at some point you'll probably run afoul of the algorithm. And y'all know me, I don't really hold my tongue. I share what I'm thinking, and sometimes that offends people, and I understand that. But I can't run away from the truth. The truth does not give me a choice. I have to say it. And so, anyway, the consequence of telling that truth is that sometimes, sometimes everybody doesn't like it, and sometimes it causes challenges and stuff like that. And so, generally speaking, one way that we deal with that is we have many different places and platforms that we can connect with you from. And so if you see me on different platforms, just go ahead and please just hit the follow button, because you never know if one platform is going to disappear or something like that. Just be really careful though, also, because I just found out, or I didn't just find out, I've known this for a while, but I just saw even just this morning that there are several, way too many, like TikTok pages with fake Boyce Watkins accounts and stuff like that. So just be careful of that, because these people will slide in your DMs, and they will start this fake Boyce Watkins will start to tell you that you can go buy some Bitcoin from him and turn $2,000 into $100,000 in 3 days. And I have no idea why people fall for this. I have no idea who these people are that they're getting to give all this money to, but there are people out there who've really been hit like that. And the truth about investing 9 times out of 10 is that if something seems too good to be true, it probably is. Okay, so don't go chasing waterfalls. Stick to the rivers and the lakes that you're used to. The best and clearest, and the easiest way I've seen to make money is through what we do with stock options. If you go to drboyceprime.com, in terms of what we do with stock options, it's absolutely stunning in terms of the ROI that you can get if you have just a little bit of a capital base. But even there's always risk, And but in case you want to know what I was doing this morning, I was selling my stock options and making my money for the week so I could pay my credit card bills and all that stuff. So if you want to go take a look at that, go to drboyceprime.com if you'd like to join the class. All right, so here's so I'm going to play this video, and it's from a mom who is kind of sad because she had to kick her kids out of the house. And her 23-year-old and her 24-year-old, I think her kids were very close in age, they were very upset with her. They were very mad at her for saying, you got to go, you got to get out of the house. And I understand that, and I've seen that before. It happened in my house. I don't know if anybody else ever went through that challenging situation, either as a parent or a child. It ain't never fun. It's not fun for anybody. Me and my parents went through that. And I'm gonna kind of give you a perspective on this from an economic standpoint. I wrote about this in my book, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. And I wrote about it a lot. Because I really believe that this is something that we should critically analyze if we want to understand Black wealth. If economic awareness is our goal, we must be economically aware of these critical decisions, in terms of what happens when you keep an adult child in the house for too long, or what happens when you put that child out too soon. It's a balancing act, right? Because that move that breaking up of the family, which might be necessary in terms of getting the bird out the nest, it has economic consequences on both ends, and it's an especially critical issue in the world that we live in now. Where how many of you, give me a yes or no if you've read all the statistics about how Gen Z people can't afford to buy houses? Have you seen these stats? Let me know if you've seen this, where there are all these stats about Gen Zers not being able to buy houses, Gen Zers not being able to pay rent, Gen Zers not being able to get jobs that pay them good money, Gen Zers not being able to pay their student loans, Gen Zers really being financially body slammed by this economy. So if you're not doing this carefully and thinking this through, it can become catastrophic for everybody. So I'm going to kind of give you some ways of thinking about it. As you guys know, in the Black Business School, we're cutting edge, we're ahead of the curve. I don't just read what's in the textbooks. We professors, we write the textbook, so that's something that we're able to do. So I don't care if this is being taught at any university. I don't care if it's in somebody else's book. Again, as a professor, that's what we do. We write the textbooks. We define the theory. So I'm going to lay out something that I personally think can help you to make a decision in this case in terms of how to balance these things, or at least variables to consider. And then we're going to kind of, that'll be our awareness exercise for today. All right, so let me pull this video up really quick. And as I pull it up, I want to say thank you to everybody who came out to Philly for the Get Money Fest. It was really great. There were a bunch of great rappers there. There's one little guy that just got signed by Lil Wayne, and his name was Damio, and he was the nicest little kid, and he had just got signed by Lil Wayne. So I was like, dude, you must be good if you just got signed by Lil Wayne. And he's like, yeah, I've been rapping for a while, right? He's been rapping since he was 11. It was almost like he was cute, but he was like a cute little thug. I said, "Oh man, you trying to be a thug? Look at you! Look at you all dripped out and everything, like you hard, like you a gangster." And but I did tell him. I remember we were talking alone, and I when a young person listens, I love to share things. I told you I'm a natural father. I like the dad role, right? I just take that, right? So when a kid's listening, I if I can think of something I can tell them that will help them, I share it, right? So he was really listening to everything I said. So I just told him, I said, you're going to make a lot of money. You're going to have a lot of opportunities. You're going to get a lot of temptations and a lot of that space. Being in that space with guys like Lil Wayne is going to introduce you to a lot of privileges that most people don't get. I said, but I really encourage you to really stay humble. Be a lion on the inside, but you don't. But you can still be humble. You're a good person. I can tell. I get that from your spirit. And I said also, keep somebody next to you. Keep people next to you that you trust, who are older and wiser, who can help you make good choices. Just keep somebody like that in your corner. Keep a couple mentors around so they can help you stay grounded and focused in the middle of all the chaos. Because I felt in a way it was like I was excited for him because he was excited, right? You're a rapper. This is all you dream about. You want to be famous, right? And he showed me a video clip. He was on stage. Lil Wayne's on stage behind him, like endorsing him. And I understand why, right? So, like what was going on there. And he's very talented. But I was like, God, man, sometimes, see, the thing about it, my friend D1, who's also a great hip hop artist, a very good friend of mine, a guy, I guess I've been his mentor for years. I didn't know I was his mentor until he told me. But we talk a lot. And he has a saying that I really like where he says, the devil can bless you too. And in fact, D1 actually turned down a deal with Lil Wayne's record label. He was actually offered to sign and he didn't do it. And I just thought about that and I said, guys, sometimes your worst nightmares show up as your greatest dream. Sometimes you get exactly what you want and you realize that really wasn't what you want, right? And a lot of us have gone through that. Like, you ever got a chance? Like, for example, when I was younger, there was a girl that I really, really wanted to be with, and I just thought she was the prettiest thing in the world, and finally she agreed to go out with me, and it was like the worst thing that ever happened to me because she was a terrible person, And so really, I think just understanding this, and I think this is a financial awareness exercise that everything that glitters ain't gold. Everything that you think looks. A lot of times the grass is always greener on the other side. We have these dreams, visions, and fantasies, all these things that we believe are going to make our lives better. And then sometimes you'll find out that, if you don't think about it carefully, you go chasing these waterfalls, it can ruin your life. And I wanted to say that to this kid, but I didn't want to mess up his moment. I just said, keep wise people around you. Keep some good people around you that are a little bit older that you can trust, who can help you make good decisions when it comes to money, when it comes to women, when it comes to just choices, things like that. And then you can turn this situation into an opportunity as opposed to just something that actually ruins you. Because I've seen guys go into situations like that where it absolutely ruined them. And that's it. That was just a quick thought. I hope that that's okay if I share that. But yeah, so he was at the Get Money Fest. He performed there, and there were a bunch of artists that performed. And then we had great financial literacy panels. There's one brother there who was had an energy drink called Pure Fuel in Philadelphia that's now the official energy drink for the Philadelphia 76ers. There's another guy that named Will Reck or something like that. I wish I can remember his name exactly. His name was Will, and he literally pulls together all the artists in Philadelphia and funds the artists, which I thought was amazing because a lot of artists become slaves. They become financial slaves to people from other communities who own the hip hop music industry. And they say, hey, Negro, if we give you $2, will you go out and make a fool out of yourself? And we do that because we don't have funding sources. So his work was really important. And there was actually another guy who was a CEO of a record label. And just really great. And then we have branding specialists and people that were specialists in how to raise money for your business. And it was just really great. Like, I love the blending of Black art and Black creativity with Black economics. See, the reason those things have to be blended is because tell me if you agree, tell me if you understand this, we are the most creative group of people on the planet. Tell me if you understand this. Tell me if you've seen this. We are literally just incredibly lit when it comes to our ability to make something out of nothing, to just take creativity in directions that no one could ever thought it could go. And we've been doing this. We've been doing this for hundreds of years. It's just now, we see the rappers and we see Kendrick and Drake and all that. And it was really fun talking to I'm talking about Kendrick and Drake with a guy who just signed with Lil Wayne's record label. He's like, no, I'm Team YM, I'm Team Young Money, and but it was fun. We talked about the economics and everything else, and I just sort of gave my little Boyce Watkins theory. I said I think those guys should just go on tour together now. Like don't fight so hard that you destroy each other. You got to do what boxers do, right? Like boxers want to beat the crap out of each other, but then after the fight, what do boxers always do? Remember Mike Tyson used to knock a guy out like in 30 seconds, and then he would always go over and give him a hug, and then he'd get interviewed and he'd talk about what a great fighter and what a great competitor he was. Or if there was a big rivalry and they knew they could make money, they didn't let it get too far. You see what I mean? Like if I want to fight you, I don't want to kill you, because if I kill you, then there's no rivalry anymore. There's nothing, and then I feel bad because now you got brain damage and now you really. So boxers don't really want to truly hurt each other. I just want to hurt you enough to let you know that I won, and then after that, I'm gonna keep you on your feet so that we can do this together, right? Boxers get this. Boxers understand this, right? So what I really wish with Kendrick and Drake is I wish they understood this. I hope that they understand this. Like, you built something here. Like, just, Batman needs the Joker, right? The Joker doesn't want Batman dead. He needs Batman. That's what makes the Joker meaningful. That's what gives him purpose, right? So anyway, that was my weekend. So I hope that doesn't sound weird, but I probably sound like a weirdo half the time. I've given up trying to be normal. All right, so let me share with you all this video that I keep talking about of this sister who is really distressed because she's trying to figure out where, she's basically saying she just told her two daughters who are 24 and 26 to move out of the house. And I want to play her video.
I gave my daughter.
And then I want to kind of assess this from the perspective of my book, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power, and give you a framework within which you can sort of think about this thing. So here we go.
Daughters 3 months to move. And oh baby, it was a big old hassle, let me tell you. Oh, I can't hold, she putting us out. Oh, respectfully, I need such and such and such and such. I'm trying to get a truck, and it was a war in my own home, let me tell you. But you know what? I am so proud of my daughters. I am so proud of them. And they don't even know it, because guess what? They don't even talk to me. They will come in the same house that I live in. They'll speak, but it's sort of kind of dry. And they'll go on about their business. No conversation. You can tell I'm an energy person, so I can tell when the energy is off. But it's okay. Because I'm still happy and I'm still going to love them because I'm their mother. And I want what's best for them. I gave them 3 months to move. They moved in 2.5. Actually, 2. After I had that meeting with my daughters, a month after that, my youngest daughter bought her a truck. 2 months after that, they got an apartment. Okay. Now, my daughter's 26 and 24. We'll be 24. It was time for you guys to leave the nest. It was time for you to actually see what you were capable of. And that's how God is sometimes. We...
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so let me know. Give me a yes if y'all were able to hear that. Were y'all able to hear that video? Give me a quick yes if it came through okay. All right, so so let's do a quick straw poll. How many of you, give me a yes or no? Yes or no. How many of you feel like children that are, say, over the age of 22 should be out of the house? Give me a yes or no. What do you think? Just a raw yes or no, just generally speaking, in most cases. Yes or no. Okay, I see a lot of yeses. I see some no's. It's a nice mix. Wow, it is a really big mix. It makes me almost want to take a poll to just try to understand it further. I'm not going to say yes or no on that. I'm going to actually give you some things that I observed from an economic awareness standpoint that occurred in this video, and give you a framework. And then I'm going to tell you our personal story about how my wife and I kind of dealt with it. We got a 20-year-old who's 6'9", who, we've had to kind of figure out the right balance with him. So first thing was she mentioned how her daughters were very upset because the mother was putting them out. And what I saw with them being upset, like, she putting us out. I can't believe she's doing this. And that stress really comes from financial anxiety, which is very present in the Black community. My wife, who's a therapist, she did a whole workbook on financial anxiety. If you want to understand how to manage it, Feel free to, it's at drboycebooks.com. If you look up the word Alicia, you can find all of her books there. And one of the things that really does happen is that when you have an economic relationship between two people or between a person and an entity, if that relationship gets disrupted, that causes stress. Tell me, give me a yes or no. I want you to internalize what I'm saying here. How many of you feel stressed when your money ain't right? Give me a yes if you ever can remember or recall a time where maybe you lost your job or somebody cut your money or you thought somebody was going to give you something and they couldn't come through or they didn't come through. And this is, and actually in my book, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power, I talk about that a lot, about how we can be financially traumatized and then sometimes inadvertently financially traumatize each other. And I have, for example, I have very little tolerance for family members who borrow from family and then don't pay them back. What you're doing is you're destroying the trust within the ecosystem because when there's trauma, there is no trust. When there's trauma, there is no trust. If I'm traumatizing you, scaring the hell out of you, shaking you up, making you nervous, making you constantly off balance with my behavior, well, you're not going to trust me. You're not going to want to do business with me. You're not going to want to marry me. You're not going to want to work for me. You're not going to want to have me come work for you. I know I hire people all the time. I don't hire people that traumatize me. I don't want no surprises, man. It's hard enough to be successful. I don't need you like telling me 2 minutes before you start work that you can't make it. No, we need to have some sort of stability here, right? So stability breeds trust, instability breeds trauma, which undermines trust. So what happened here, in my view, is that because money is so emotional, is that the daughters weren't really reacting that way because they hate their mother. They're always going to love their mother, but they were feeling financially traumatized. They were like, what am I going to do? Where am I going to stay? How am I going to pay my bills? How am I going to get my truck? Right. And this happens a lot. If you ever run a business, and some of y'all know this experience, I know some of y'all are business owners. If one of the things you have to be very careful about is hiring people. Because when you hire someone and then they become dependent on you financially, let's say the business pulls back and you're not making as much money as you were making before. Well, they're going to get mad at you. They're going to, and it's not because they hate you. It's because they're like, what am I going to do now? Like you mean you're laying me off? And you might say, look, I'm really sorry. Our revenue dropped by 40%. I hate to do this, but I got it. It's hard. It's really, really hard. And in fact, I had a friend like that who had he had a great business that was making like millions of dollars a year, like 20 million a year, something like that. And he hired all his friends because he wanted to be as helpful to as many people as possible. So he hired a bunch of his friends. He overpaid them because he was so generous. And because he wasn't sort of prepared for the economic storm, he didn't realize what would happen when his revenue dropped from 20 million a year to 10 million a year. And then he had to go back to these same people and he didn't fire anybody. He just said, I need you to take a pay cut. And he said the people that were his closest friends that he'd helped the most were the ones who were the maddest at him because he had to cut their pay. He said they call me all kinds of MFers and IGA this and IGA that, and really I don't think it was that they were trying to be mean to him. It's just that when things start falling apart, people we just kind of get disrupted and traumatized people just in the middle of their trauma just don't do very well in group situations. So right, so that's what was happening there, right? So the family relationship was kind of disrupted because of this financial trauma. Financial trauma is real. This happens all the time. Second observation in the video that I noticed was she talked about how proud she was of her daughters, and she said, she's out and they're out there doing this and they're doing that, but she also mentioned that they're not really speaking to her, they're kind of cold to her, stuff like that, and it reminded me of my mother. My mother was real big. She's still real big on personal responsibility. My mama didn't raise no punks. My daddy wasn't no punk, and so they kind of my mother actually had this weird philosophy that I thought was kind of gangster a little bit, where she said, "I don't care if my kids hate me, as long as I can make sure that they're successful." Right? Even if you hate me, if I know you're successful, then I'm going to be okay with that. I think that's kind of hard to do. I admit I don't inherit that gene from my mother. I love my mother, by the way. My mother's amazing, but that was kind of you know maybe pushing a little bit too far, right? Because being loved by your kids is important, and I do love my mother, right? So I thought about that, And I said, maybe there's got to be a better way. Like, right? Like maybe there can be a way to make the kids independent without without necessarily making them hate you, right? So this led me to another thought that I had. I'm gonna lay out my series of thoughts, and then I'm gonna wrap it up with a conclusion. I promise you. But I really want you to kind of see the vision here. Again, this is economic awareness training. This is what we do every morning at 10 a.m. in case you want to join us in the future. If you want to be invited into the private Zoom, just text the word morning, MORNING, to 87948. Text morning to 87948, and you'll be invited. All right. So the next thing that I thought about was when she mentioned she was proud of her daughter. She said one of them got a truck and they already got an apartment. Right. So those are the two things she pointed to in terms of signs of their economic progress. And I get that. Right. That's a big deal when you go from being a kid to being an adult. And then next thing you know, you got your own car, you got your own place. Congratulations. That's a wonderful thing. Now, here's the challenge though. Buying a truck, sure, it can kind of be seen as economic progress, but also buying the truck probably means that they took on some debt, which can be the opposite of economic progress, if you know what I mean. Because in a car, truck, all that, those are depreciating assets. That doesn't add to their long-term net worth or their long-term economic stability. It takes away from it to some extent because now they've got a truck payment on top of whatever other payments they have, maybe student loans or whatever. And then the other one, she mentioned she got an apartment. So that means that now she's renting a place, which again, it's progress because you're not homeless, but it's not progress because now you're building wealth for the landlord. Everything that we do when we talk about the Black Wealth Master Plan, when we have the $5 a day investing plan, which is basically just showing you that if you make consistent investments in the S&P 500 on your own behalf, that you'll be very wealthy and probably a millionaire before you're done. And your kids will definitely be millionaires. It's easy to take a poor person and make them a rich person if all their economic energy, money is energy, money is energy, money is energy. So if your economic energy is being applied in a way that's going to benefit you, your future self, or your descendants, then guess what? You're going to be really wealthy because all that energy that you're putting out is coming right back to you. Do you understand? You put so much energy into the world. Every time you get up and go to work, that's energy. Every time you buy a new pair of shoes, that's economic energy. Every time you give your attention or whatever to something else or whatever out here, that's energy. You're giving energy to stuff, right? And we're tired. We're very tired. Well, why are you tired? Well, because you're giving so much energy. So my question that you might want to ask yourself, just in a big picture standpoint, is if you're giving out so much energy, how come there's nothing to really show for it? Where's the energy going? And the energy is going out the window because unfortunately somebody told us that the way to tell if a black person is doing well is by looking at what they're driving and where they're living. So if you have a $3,000 a month apartment and a car, $1,000 a month car note, then we think you're doing well when really you're not doing well. You're just accumulating debt. And what you're also doing is you're taking a big fat chunk of your economic energy and you're putting it right into the pocket of the landlord. If you pay your rent, if you pay $1,000 a month in rent over a 30-year period and you pay your rent on time, do you understand how many millions of dollars in family wealth that landlord has built from that money by taking that money and investing it and taking your economic energy and applying it to his family wealth and his family legacy? Do you understand that? Because remember, the $5 a day plan is only $150 a month. And I already showed you just by doing that, you're up to $250,000 after 30 years. But if you're paying $1,000 a month in rent, and let's say 1,500, some of y'all paying 1,500, that's 10x. That's 10x. Pay attention now. Let me know you're following this. This is important what I'm saying here. This little piece of information, if you memorize this, will change everything. 10x that. So that means after 30 years, it's not $250,000, it's 2.5 million. 2.5 million. That's a wealthy family. No one in this room will disagree that a family with 2.5 million in wealth is poor, middle class. They're upper class. So you've made your land by paying your rent on time every month. You've made your landlord into a multi-millionaire. By paying that car note every month, you're making the car dealer into a multi-millionaire. If you pay your car notes on time and do that over 20, 30 years, that's what you're doing. So I thought about that too. Now, this does not again, I want to make it clear this is not a criticism of this woman at all. I'm supposed to know these things, right? This is what I do. Financial stuff is what I do. So I see this. So I'm trying to share my awareness with you in hopes that you can gain something and extract something from this video. Now, here's where let's get to the part about the kids, okay? And again, I am not here to tell nobody how to raise kids because anybody in here who got kids, how many of y'all got kids? And how many of y'all know, raise both hands if you know that raising kids is an inexact science. None of us have it figured out. All of us make mistakes. We never get I just hope I can get like 50% of it right. Right. So I'm not here. I am not a parenting expert. I'm not here to tell you how to raise your kids at all, but I am here to give you a perspective on this. Okay. Um, and this was a perspective that I came to over time. This was not how I was raised. Here's what I think. I'm gonna start with a clear statement on this, and then I'm gonna give it some nuance. Every child should be told to leave the house when they turn 18. Every child in your house should be gone by the age of 18. They should not be under your roof. They should not be in your house anymore. Okay. The only people that should be living in your house after the age of 18 should not be children. They should be adults living in your house. Adults, meaning people who understand what it means to make a contribution to a household, to maintain and to support the stability of that household. When our son turned 18, I said, I want you out of this house and I never want to see you again. I said, when you come back or when someone comes back, I need the man version of you coming back. I don't want no we're not gonna do scenes from the movie Baby Boy up in this house. We're not doing that because there's nothing about the movie Baby Boy that indicates any form of economic progress or financial stability for that household. A 23-year-old dependent is an absolute waste of economic energy. It is dead weight. That's what that so if you want to know where I'm coming from that I don't if you got that 27-year-old sitting in the house and you're paying all the bills and that kid is not doing something or that young person's not doing something to contribute to the economic stability of that household, something significant. I'm not talking about $20 a month in I'm talking maybe 500 a month. 500 a month is easy for him. That's easy. Who else? Where else can he go to get a place for 500 a month? This was the conversation we had with our son. I said, okay, so your rent's going to be 300 a month when you're here. And I again, there's no kids. There's no 20. We don't have 20-year-old kids living in this house. But I can have a 20-year-old man living in this house who understands what a man's supposed to do. So what that means is that your rent is going to be $300 a month. Oh man, that's a lot. That's a whole lot. I said, well, okay, well, how about this? I said, how about this? I'll give you a choice. You have options. You can go and see if you can find an apartment somewhere that'll let you live there for $300 a month. What do you think? Do you want to take your chances on that, or do you want to go with the deal that I just offered you? And I said, because you're here, you're eating food, you're taking up space. Me and your mom, we don't have to have you here. We don't have to have anybody in this house. We've done our job. So you tell me what you're willing to do, and I'll meet you more than halfway. I'll clear a path where you can save as much money as you want to save and keep your bills incredibly low because it ain't really about the money. It's about me helping you understand that you can't be a 28-year-old child. And that is a big problem. We have a lot of bearded babies out here. We have a lot of men that they look like men. They got big beards and big muscles and stuff, but yeah, they can get girls pregnant, but they don't. But somebody's still treating that man like a child, and so he's not an asset to anybody anywhere he goes. He's not even thinking like an asset. To be an asset, you have to think like an asset. A person who thinks like an asset, who is the person who walks in the kitchen and says, "How can I help?" Or it's a person who comes to the party and says, "What can I bring?" It's the person who says, "Oh, how can I support you?" That person's thinking like an asset. Some people don't think like assets; they think like liabilities. They do. They'll come in the kitchen. There's food, and they'll eat all day and not even think about helping to cook the food or bring any food or clean up the kitchen afterward. And people like that are terrible to deal with. Some of y'all are married to people like that. Some of y'all got kids like that. And I get it. Okay, we got teenagers, and if you know anything about teenagers, you know how terrible they can be. They go from being adorable to being horrible. Add horrible. There we go. That's a new word I just made up. AD horrible, right? They're adorable and horrible. Add horrible. And so yeah, they'll sit around and do nothing and think that that's the way things are supposed to be, but that's not the way you create productive economic ecosystems. You can't have a 32-year-old woman sitting there like she's a liability or like she's a child. And I'm gonna tell you the truth about the black community, which really stinks, is that because you've had a breakdown of the black family, you have this problem more so in more families with the boys than you do with the girls. It's not because black men are inferior or anything like that. It's because black men don't have the mentorship on a day-to-day basis that the girls do, because the fathers, 76% of black fathers don't even live in the house. It doesn't mean that they're not involved. It doesn't mean they don't call their son, whatever. But people who know what it's like to have a father that's right there over top of you all the time, all day, every day, understand there's a difference. There's a big difference. My dad was there with me every single day, in my ass every single day. It wouldn't have been the same if he was like calling me twice a week, or if I saw him every other weekend. Like that's just not the same, right? So the girls get a lot more mentorship because the mother's right there saying, pull your skirt down. Here's how you put on a tampon. Don't let no boys call you after this time. Girl, come down here and clean up the kitchen. Right? They're getting that constant mentorship, so they're kind of learning these things. And I think that some of the boys, not all of them, but some of them, it's a little bit tough, right? So I would just say this: I think that generally speaking, I don't think that you have to put people out of the house when they turn a certain age, but I do think the child has to leave and the adult has to replace that person. And what does that mean to be an adult? It depends on you and what your needs are. If you have a family that has enough money where you can already pay the bills without the kid helping out, I get that. But we make him contribute because we need him to grow up. We make him contribute because I said we can't put a lazy, weak, unproductive man out into the world so some other woman, so he'll be a curse to somebody else. He's going to be a curse to some woman because manhood does require leadership and problem solving ability, the ability to make money, the ability to do all these things. And I don't want some woman to have to marry a 30-year-old child. Like that would be terrible for her, right? So ultimately, I think that in this video, what I'm seeing is, I think that the mother wants her daughters to be in the house, and I think that she could have made a deal with them and said, "Okay, you can stay, but everybody who stays has to contribute." Right? So if the mortgage is simple budget, right? The mortgage is 1,500 a month. Each of y'all is going to contribute $500. $500 a month is not a lot of rent. That's not a lot of money to pay in rent. Even a lazy person can get $500 a month. The utilities are 800 total per month. Each of us, or 900 per month, let's say. You put 300 in, you're going to put 300 in. That's the expectation. That's the requirement. And then what that does, so think about this now. You're doing better than the other Gen Zers because you get to live off of, what is that? You literally have all your bills paid for $800 a month. Most Gen Z people that are living on their own cannot live on $800 a month. It's not possible. Do you understand? And even the expense of getting the truck, maybe getting the truck is something you don't have to do now. You don't have to go take on that $400 a month car note because you're living at home and there's one car or two cars and everybody shares the car, right? So that is another expense that gets cut out. And guess what that means? That means that if you do go out and work hard and let's say you get a job or whatever it is that you do to make money and you're making say $3,000, $4,000 a month, cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. You're now a wealth builder because you are pouring all that money. You're coming to Dr. Boyce's class every morning like this 19-year-old child. I met a 19-year-old child who lived with her parents, but she was talking about how much money she had invested. She said, "I've been watching you since 2000, since I was 17 years old, and I have thousands of dollars saved right now and invested." And I said, "I'm so proud of you." And her parents were right there. And what I really visualized was not the parents saying, "Okay, we're going to take this productive economic asset and just throw her out in the street." I saw a family where I was like, "Wow, that you're going to have a great family business one day. You've got a productive child and you've got really smart parents. Y'all can do really amazing things together." Remember, a lot of wealth starts with families working together. The Rothschilds started not because the senior Rothschild fathers basically put his sons out in the street and said, go do whatever you got to do. Go work for a white man somewhere. And you go, and then I got my job. You got your job. No, he didn't do that. He said, let's all get together, sons, and let's create a family business that's going to make people respect the Rothschild name. Let's work together, but everybody's going to have to contribute. We don't want dead weight in this family. And so that's what I would say. I'm not telling you how to do it, but I would encourage you to just be creative about it. And I would say that when you have that scenario where everyone can still possibly live under the same roof. I mean, under certain conditions. I mean, there has to be, as Dr. Claude Anderson talks about, there have to be codes of conduct, right? Everybody has to be respectful of each other, and you can't have a bunch of wildness and chaos happening in the house. But assuming your kids are good kids, I think that maybe if you introduce them to some of the things we talk about in this class, maybe you give them $20 to read my book so they can understand where these principles come from. And then maybe they come in with a different mindset. And I can tell you this, just speaking of Dr. Anderson has a son named Brant who lives in the house. Brant is over 40, and Brant is one of the most valuable assets in that house because when you get older, those kids come in handy. I know you want to get rid of them when they're 18 or 19, but when you're 70 years old, 80 years old, and you're trying to get back and forth to the doctor, having the kids around can be beneficial. Right. So I'm not I'm not telling you how to do this or how to proceed with this. I'm just telling you that there's more than one way to skin this cat. And what I really see too is that when I take my most valuable assets, my children, and I sell them into slavery, that's what you're doing. You're selling them into the capitalist system. You're saying you go work for the white man over there, and you go work for the white man over there, and then I'll go work for the white man over here, and then we're gonna meet for Sunday dinner in between our many hundreds of appointments with these white people who hate our guts. That's how I see it. I probably sound cynical when I say that, but I'm really thinking about the racism that you deal with on the job. I'm thinking about the fact that you may not even want to be there. I'm thinking about all of the abuse that we deal with. That's what I see. And I'm sorry if I sound cynical when I say this, but that's what I see. And I see a big wasted opportunity because here's what's happening. Because you're spread out, when they split you up, they can conquer you much easier when you're split up. Let me know if you're following this. When you split up, oh, you're easy to conquer. Because what's happened is you're struggling by yourself, so you're desperate. You're gonna do what I say. You're struggling by yourself. Oh, and you're desperate, so you're gonna do what I say. And you're struggling by yourself, so you're desperate, so you're gonna do what I say. So when I tell all y'all little Negroes to show up to work every day, you're gonna do exactly what I say because you're all desperate. Why? Well, why is that? I don't know. Let's think about this. Well, your millennial child has student loan payments, a car note payment, and a $1,500 a month in rent, plus all the other expenses that they probably have accumulated because they're young, probably credit cards and other crazy stuff that they. So they're scrambling, they're struggling, they're about to drown financially, and they're barely hanging on. They're going deeper in debt just to maintain. And then your other child's doing the same thing and then maybe you're struggling a little bit, or maybe you're just trying to figure things out. So why is that also a problem? Well, it's also interesting because you're supporting three separate households when you really could actually be supporting one. When companies merge with each other, they have this thing called synergy. And what synergy means is it allows you to say, okay, if we work together, we can actually make the same amount of money, maybe more money, and have lower costs. Because maybe we don't need three separate cars because I don't have to have a car all to myself. I don't even drive that much. Right. So maybe if we're living in the same house, we share one car, we share two cars. And that's one less car note. That's one less place where we're throwing out consistent amounts of money into somebody else's pocket, into somebody else's family legacy. Do you understand? So I'm not saying that there's one rule to this. I'm not saying there's one way to do it. In fact, sometimes, I'll be honest with you. If your relatives are crazy and trifling, sometimes you got to get them out. Just get away from me. You're ridiculous. Your behavior is not acceptable. I understand that part, but assuming that you have people in your family that are good people that are open to new ideas, that understand how to think like an asset and not a liability, there may be an opportunity for you to bring them in as opposed to seeing them as some sort of a burden. So that's why I say I kick all kids out of my house when they're 18. I don't want no more kids, and I don't want no 22-year-old children in my house because that's a liability. That's expensive. But a 22-year-old adult who works hard, oh shoot, I got a job for you. Shoot, like, okay, I'm running this business. I need help. It's going to cost me a lot to hire somebody. How about you come and help me with this business? right? Or I'm older and I'd have to pay a home health care aide to help take care of me and get me to back and forth to the doctor. Well, how about I let you stay here for free if you help me with this and help me with that? And so the reason I think it's important to be creative about this is because we all kind of go by the same standard blueprint, and sometimes that lack of long-term vision can cause us problems. Like when you're young, you want the kids gone because you're okay living independently. This was a mistake our family kind of made is my parents sent us all away and said, go do what you want to do, go live your life and everything else. Well, then they got old. And now we're scrambling back and forth to Kentucky to make sure that mom and daddy are okay. And there's a cost to getting people into the house to make sure that they're good because they're not as independent now as they were 20 or 30 years ago. So I would just encourage you to think about these sorts of things and really start to see the family as an entity. Start to see the family as an institution. See it on, or you can even see it almost like a basketball team or something. And when someone says, well, we're going to get rid of all the other players so you can keep the ball and play by yourself, is that really going to help you win more basketball games, or maybe playing better as a team will actually help you win that championship? So that's my 2 cents on that. And that's so it's not to criticize what this young lady said. It's just me saying, like, I think it's important to really understand how the economics and family are connected. And I write about this a lot in my book. It's The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. You can get a copy at drboycebooks.com. All right, so let me make a couple of announcements before we go. We're going to meet tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern. We do this every single morning, economic awareness training. So if you want to see the money and be the money, this is the place to be. And so if you'd like to be invited, or if you are not on the text list yet to be invited, text the word morning, MORNING, to 87948. Text morning to 87948. Also, in case you don't know, we have really smart women that are part of the Black Business School, and they're on a platform called Fly Nubian Money, where these women get together, and we have a broad range of professional women from different backgrounds, attorneys and accountants, and my wife is a therapist. She's going to participate today, and they hit interesting topics in the community, but they also bring it back to the economics and stuff. So it's called Fly Nubian Money. If you'd like to be notified when they go live today at 1 o'clock, I hope you will take a moment, text the word Queens to 87948, Queens with an S. It's Queens to 87948. And they're going to be live today at 1 p.m. Eastern. And my wife, Dr. Alicia Watkins, will be a part of that group. And they're actually going to talk about Diddy and kind of give, my wife has a therapist perspective on all of that. And then there's some other women, they have some interesting things to say. So, and also, I hope you'll just support them, because I really want to support smart women in our community. So that's why we developed that platform. And then last but not least, tomorrow we're going to do the portfolio power play, and I'll reveal some stocks that I'm actually buying right now. I was taking notes on some companies that I think can allow you to benefit from the energy boom. There's really this whole thing happening with AI, where AI is going to take up a ton of energy. And so there are companies you can invest in now that are going to, according to most experts, benefit as AI starts to grow and emerge. And it is taking off. I mean, this week, NVIDIA is making their earnings announcement, and that's going to be really important to determine if this AI thing is actually as profitable as people think. So we're going to do that tomorrow at noon, and that's going to be right after this class. And so if you want to see the stocks that I pick, stuff like that every week, just go to drboycestocks.com, drboycestocks.com. All right, guys. So I'm going to get out of here. Have a great day. Thank you guys for hanging out, and I will see you all tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern. Take care. Bye-bye.